So every unit is an activity and it is active in itself, one or the other kind of activity. So for example, if we look at our body, we can see that some of the activities are going on in our body, like respiration, digestion, pulsation are some of the common examples. So what about a chair? Is it an activity? Is it active? So first glance it might look like nothing is going on in the chair, but on closer observation you can see that changes its shape, size and composition over longer periods, like 10 to 15 years. Has this change occurred instantly or gradually over a period of time? All of us know that this process of change is gradual and becomes visible only after some time. So it indicates that activity is going on in the chair also with the help of science. Now we know that any object is made up of atoms. An atom consists of finer subatomic particles and they keep rotating around their own axis and revolving around the nucleus all the time. So these atoms combine together to form molecules, other larger structures, and ultimately the chair is also an activity. For the chair is interacting with other units, it is stable on the floor, it is supporting the weight of a person sitting on it and so on. In that sense it is active. So if we try to observe the units around us and list out some of the activities going on in them, we also find out if they are interacting in a definite manner with other units. You will see that every unit is an activity in itself and it is active in relation with other units. So when it comes to space, it is no activity. There is activity only in the units. So wherever there is no unit, there is no activity. Where only space exists, there is no activity. We can observe a whole lot of activity in ourselves, like we are imagining, we are analyzing, comparing, selecting, tasting and so on. So there is a whole lot of activity in the body also. It's breathing, eating, walking, talking. In the environment of earth, air and water constantly in motion, trees are growing, animals and birds are seen to be moving from place to place in search of food and so on. The sun is also full of activity. Now if we see between earth and the sun, where there is no unit, where only space exists, there is no activity. Space is no activity. So understanding the submergence, like where are units? Are they inside space or outside space? It's a tricky question. So units are in space. They are submerged in space. When we say units are submerged in space, it means units are in space. They are inseparable from space. So where a unit is, space is also there. No matter where a unit is or it is moved from one place to the other, it's always in space. So there is no way a unit can be taken out of the space or separated from the space. Existence is coexistence. It is in the form of units submerged in space. Submergence implies three things: units are energized in space, units are self organized in space, units recognize their relationship and fulfill it with every other unit in space. So units are energized in space, being in coexistence with space, every unit is energized. The earth, for example, it's in space, it is submerged in space. Earth is an activity. So it is rotating around its own axis and revolving around the sun. Are we supplying energy to the earth? We human beings are not supplying the energy to earth. It is the energy coming from the sun, or is it happening just by being in coexistence with space? The earth is energized being in coexistence with space. However, we may believe that the energy of the earth is coming from the sun. We can see that the energy of the sun is coming from the fusion of hydrogen atoms. So then the obvious question is, where does the energy of the hydrogen atom come from? So we have to get to the base of it. Ultimately, we find that the hydrogen atom is energized in coexistence with space. We can observe any atom in space. So units are self-organized in space. So units recognize their relationship and fulfill it with every other unit in space. So existence as coexistence, it's like units submerged in space. Yeah, this is something like this, like units submerged in space. So units in this discussion, we can visualize the overall picture of the whole existence. So existence, coexistence, units submerged in space. On Earth, we can observe the expanse of material units from individual atoms of uh, various types to various molecules, molecular structures, cells, cellular structures, and so on, as well as consciousness units, all submerged in space, all coexisting, recognizing and fulfilling each other. So, at the base is the coexistence. It is unfolding in terms of units submerged in space. Units are limited in space size, their activity and are active. Space is unlimited, all pervading, and is no activity. By virtue of being submerged in space, units are energized, self organized, and recognize the relationship with every other unit in space and fulfill it. So units are of two types. One is material units and consciousness units. Material units are temporary in time, while consciousness units seem to be continuous. Material units recognize and fulfill their relationship. Their conduct is definite. Consciousness units recognize and fulfill their relationship on the basis of assuming without knowing, or assuming based on knowing. Conduct of the human being is definite if it is operating on the basis of assuming based on knowing, and it is indefinite if it is operating on the basis of assumption without knowing. So this we've already discussed in the context of body and self, right? So knowing and assuming distinguishes consciousness units from material units, as knowing and assuming is seen only in consciousness units but not in material units. So we can observe these two characteristics in all material units. Take for example air, water, soil, metal, etc. Physical order, or plants, trees, animal body, and human body of the bio order, all these units are temporary in time and are only recognizing and fulfilling. There is no assuming in them. The potential to know or assume is not there in these units. It may be interesting to note that the animal body and human body are also units of bio order with these characteristics. So all material units are composed of other material units. So coming to the domain of consciousness, there is just one type of unit which we have referred to as self. Of course, there are many consciousness units. The self is characterized by the activities of knowing, assuming, recognizing, and fulfilling. It has the need to know as well as the potential to know. So, this we explored by referring to our natural acceptance. Knowing means having the right understanding, or understanding of the harmony in the entire expanse of our being. A self may get associated with an animal body. We see a vast variety of animals and birds. So it may also associate with the human body. Like we can classify all the units into four orders. So classification of these material units. Materials can be classified into two orders: physical order and bio order. The physical order, the smallest self-organized is the atom. Hydrogen, oxygen, iron, and uranium. These are the examples. So these atoms combine in a different, definite manner to form molecules, and these molecules are also self-organized and they exhibit their definite conduct. There are hydrogen molecules, oxygen molecules, nitrogen molecules in the atmosphere. Similarly, there are innumerable molecules in turn combine to make molecular structures. Water is an example of a molecular structure formed when two atoms of hydrogen combine with one atom of oxygen to make water molecule. Benzene is another example of molecular structure. So benzene molecules consisting of six carbon atoms and six hydrogen atoms. Like this, there are many molecular structures. So this is the unfolding of the coexistence in the form of physical order. At each level, the unit is in space, submerged in space. It is energized. It is self-organized. It recognizes its relationship with every other unit in space and fulfills it. There is a definite recognition and fulfillment Of course, at the base is the coexistence, it is ever present. So, classification of consciousness units in association with material units, that is animal order. It's a coexistence of consciousness, that is self and the animal body material. There are numerous different types of animals and birds, like a goat is the coexistence of self and with a goat's body. So this self assumes that it is a goat and it has a will to live. It has a definite goatness in its conduct. All its selections are based on this. And another example is tiger. So tiger is also the coexistence of self and the tiger's body. So this self has the assumption that it is a tiger and it has a will to live. It has a definite tigerness in its conduct. So but it is cruel. But goat is not cruel in nature. So by nature, tiger is cruel, and it selects flesh as food to nurture its body. So it's like that for every animal and every bird. Animal body has a definite recognition and fulfillment. Coming to the human order, it's also coexistence of self and body. We know that there are many units in human order, like body may be black, brown, white, tall, short, fat, thin, so many variations. Self is similar. In that sense, all human beings are of the same type. Human body has a definite recognition and fulfillment. So generally the belief is that existence is material in nature. So the world of consciousness is not in the view at all. So if we want to express an expression of coexistence at various levels, happiness, right understanding, right feeling is basically understanding coexistence and ensuring the feeling and thought of coexistence at the level of self. Prosperity is essentially an outcome of ensuring coexistence of human being with rest of the nature, which results into prosperity of human being and preservation of the rest of the nature. Prosperity is a natural outcome of living in coexistence with rest of the nature by human being. Fearlessness is ensuring the coexistence with other human beings at the level of family, society. Coexistence is ensuring mutual fulfillment at the level of entire nature. So, at the level of individual, human being is the coexistence of the self and the body. Acceptance of coexistence in the self for the body is the feeling of self regulation, whereas expressing his feeling of coexistence between the self and the body leads to health at the level of body. Health also includes coexistence of all parts of the body. So, at the level of self, our basic desire continuity of happiness is ensured by realization of coexistence, understanding of harmony in the nature, contemplation of participation in the larger order, leading to the feeling of coexistence, that is love, and thought of coexistence, compassion. So, we can say that. Society and nature are basically the expression of coexistence at various levels. So these are the various levels where we can say that the coexistence, uh, the relationship level, name, its relationship, and the details are shown here. So this is all about harmony in existence. Thank you.